Hello, in this video we will talk about mesh modeling in a more advanced way. As we have learned from the previous lessons, mesh is an object consists from faces, edges and vertices, and this object we can create using simple 3D primitives like a cube. Also, I have mentioned a few times that in some cases mesh object works better than other shapes. For example, when we talk about materials. Imagine, we have a situation when you want to create an object with some additional part. Easiest way, for example, just use two shapes, like two cubes, and then put them closer to each other, or even one inside one. Then we can apply one material to these two cubes. And this is the result. It still feels like two separate objects, and it doesn't look like one solid object. Yes, you can union these two cubes using Boolean modifier, but visually result would be the same. And this happened quite often. It can be a head and an ear, for example. It's just two separate shapes. So in that case, mesh object will definitely better. Insert a new section and then extrude it. Add a loop cut and slide it using edge slide tool so you can manage the rounding of the band line. Add a few more faces to make extruded section looks more like a rectangle and not like an ellipse. After applying material, we can see how, for example, Matcap works here much better than in the first option. The option from the right looks way better and realistic than the left one. And the same with a dent. You can subtract one cube from the other and create a dent like this, which is good. But in mesh object, it would be even better. The problem of the model from the left is this sharp edge. It looks not so beautiful than here in a mesh object. Here we have a very smooth edge, and this edge, or the edge in the bottom of the dent, we can also manage by sliding the edge loop. So these little details make your model look better, make it look more professional. So that's why I strongly recommend you to use mesh object everywhere where it's possible. And most of the time I started to create a mesh object using a 3D cube. But you need to select a right primitive based on what you want to achieve. So for example, if you want to create a model of the bottle, better to start from cylinder. Put cylinder to the scene and before transform, prepare it. Reset position or rotation or transform and put it in the center. Reduce the number of sides from 64 to just 6. 6 sides is the optimal number of sides. It will create perfectly rounded shape with subdivision and we won't have the largest number of polygons. And for the corner set 0. Now you can press smooth and edit and convert your cylinder to the mesh and start create your 3D bottle by extruding new sections. Every next section could be or bigger or smaller than the previous one. And again, by adding new loop cuts and using edge slide, you can move the edge loop and manage how rounded should be part like this, for example in the bottom. If you click on an edge once, you select this edge. If you click on it twice, you will select edge loop. But sometimes it doesn't work. And when I said select a proper 3D primitive to convert into the mesh, I actually mean proper as much as possible. Remember, we create this abstract shape with mesh modeling started from a simple cube. But if we'll talk about more advanced way, to create this shape, we need to start not from a cube, but from cylinder. Put cylinder, reduce the number of sides to 8. And corner to 1. 8 is quite important here. In this case, 8 better than 6. I will show you later why. And let's make it longer from y-axis. For example, 300. And now let's duplicate it and rotate like this. And duplicate it again and rotate from this side. We already have our abstract shape. And you can see how good our future faces and vertices connected between shapes here. Edge from one cylinder matches with the same edge of the other. And let's see what happened when I set sides to 6. Now we see this place, where the edge of this cylinder cuts into the middle of this face. Later, it will create some bad artifacts. So in this case, better to go with 8 sides. So, you can make a shape by mixing techniques together. And here, before create a mesh object, I will create a Boolean group from these shapes. So I select these objects together and then I apply the union Boolean modifier. And then I apply this modifier and transform my object to the mesh. All I need to do now is to add one loop cut from every side of the cylinder. I can add one loop cut from the one side, then from another, and then select them together. And using scale, I can move them close to each other. I need to repeat the same algorithm to the other cylinders and then set the subdivision modifier to 3. And now look how the new shape looks better than this one. The left one looks much better, but it was more difficult to achieve it. So the main idea here is to think about shape for the mesh modeling first. And again, practice. Practice mesh modeling as often as you can. And another one thing about mesh modeling is sculpting. With sculpting and shape like a plane, you can achieve results like this. So add a plane to the scene, or you can just set isometric view and then add a plane. So when you see this red spot, it shows where and how your object will be placed. So put a plane, make it bigger, and then add more sides. Yes, this time we will add more sides, not reduce. For example, let's play with 64 by 64. Now press Smooth and Edit, and then in the modeling toolbar, select Sculpt. So using these brushes, you can make these irregularities. And this works very good together with the depth material. So you can add a depth material to your object, and the type for the depth material should be linear, with direction z equal 1 in our case. In front position, you can set the ramp points, where colors should start and end. And you can add more colors, like a temperature map. The highest point will have the brighter color. And now sculpting is way better and interesting. You can see how the highest part changed its color. And the color map could be different. If you reduce the subdiff modifier level and set a flat visibility here, you can use this as a landscape in the low poly style. Or you can add the outline material and create this retrofuturism landscape. So this is definitely interesting to play with. And of course, sculpting can work with any other mesh objects. This is it. Practice your mesh modeling and your models will look more professional. Start with simple 3D primitives or from Boolean objects. Just don't forget to keep as less sides as possible. See you.